Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us. The first interview is you as a county commissioner here and District F. You've lived there, as you say, for 13 years. What are your top priorities as you hit the ground running as a county commissioner representing that area?
Well, District F is such a explosive growth happening in the southwest part of town. One of the top priorities for me is making sure that we continue the growth, but do it in the right way. And so I want to be working with our comprehensive planning department as we come up on new master plans for both Enterprise and Spring Valley areas of town. To make sure that we avoid the sawtooth roads, that we have thoughtful development in key corridors, so that we can make sure that we move people from home to work to play for the future.
And how about then with the master plan community developers there? You just mentioned that you live in one, and obviously you've got 3 or 4 in District F, Summerlin and some of the other major players out there. How do you work with those folks?
Well, I've lived in Mountain's Edge for the last 13 years, lived in the district for longer than that, but I've worked well with those communities in the past. I served in the state senate before, and certainly worked with them to make sure that we address issues from the neighbors, but also to make sure we address issues with roads and stoplights. Just as an example, a couple of years ago, right near Mountain's Edge, we had 3 teenage girls who were crossing Blue Diamond, and unfortunately were run over, and one of them died. And so we were able to work with NDOT, work with Commissioner Brager, to make sure that we fast-tracked a light out there. And so those types of safety issues are really critical to me. And I think we have great opportunities to work with developers, work with home builders, work with the state, work with all of the jurisdictions to make sure that we keep people safe and keep people happy.
Commissioner, something that has been going on in District F for a number of years before you took office even has been up on Red Rock on Blue Diamond Road, where Gypsum Resources would like to build some homes up there. And I know that you and your colleagues will be wrestling with that again in one of the first meetings in January. Just bring us up to date on what's happening there right now.
Sure. So back in 2011, the Clark County Commission, after some litigation with the developer, had approved the concept plan, which is the first of 3 steps for a master development like that. And so after that, the developer had to go through the process of assessing what the utilities would be, what more specifics in terms of what types of housing product we're going to go up there. And then put the development proposal on hold for a while. I and a couple of other groups worked with them to try and effectuate a land swap with the BLM so they could build down in the valley. But unfortunately, the BLM at the end of the day wasn't interested. And so the developer had proposed a couple of months ago to go forward with the next step. That was on for 2 weeks ago before the county commission, and the developer withdrew and asked that it be heard in January after the first of the year. So it will be my second meeting as on the zoning commission. We will be addressing that issue. We'll see what happens, but certainly I will thoughtfully consider whatever they come forward with. But Red Rock is something that's very near and dear to my heart, near and dear to the people in District F, and I think to this whole valley.
I'm sure that will continue on for a little while longer. You touched on your service in the state Senate, Senate District 9. What can you bring from your time in Carson City to the Board of County Commissioners?
Well, I think one is relationships. 2 of the county commissioners, incoming Commissioner Tick Sagerblom, but also Commissioner Marilyn Kirkpatrick. I had the opportunity to serve with them, and so I at least know a couple of these folks. I've worked with them on important legislation up at the Nevada legislature, from fuel revenue indexing to healthcare issues, things that really affected the people in Southern Nevada. And so I think relationships matter, but also a lot of the types of issues that were addressed in the legislature are very similar to those that we deal with down here. So when it comes from energy to water to healthcare, I chaired the Health and Human Services Committee up there in the legislature, and certainly hospitals and hospital staffing was a big issue before that committee. That's something that's very square with what the county does because they run UMC Hospital.
And speaking of the legislature, obviously those folks are meeting again here in a month or two. Now sitting on the other side of the table, what do we need here in Clark County from the legislators in Carson?
Well, I think the county lobbyists have a couple bills that they're pursuing. There are other things that sort of touch upon Clark County. Healthcare, again, is a big part of that. We had an interesting legal decision last week in another state that related to the Affordable Care Act. One of the things that brought UMC Hospital out of the red was Medicaid expansion, and so making sure that we maintain the funding for UMC Hospital through Medicaid expansion and other programs. I think that we definitely want to work with them on mental health issues. That was another thing that I and a lot of other folks worked on up at the legislature because it directly ties into what the county does in terms of juvenile justice, in terms of running the jail, and other types of programs here. And then I think there are even bigger structural issues. Obviously, the legislature is going to address taxation. They're going to address property taxes likely, and those are definitely issues that directly affect not just the residents of Clark County, but the way that Clark County government is funded.
Are there any boards or commissions that that you're trying to get on, or feel that your skill set will help the citizens and help District F?
Well, I think I've been interested in conservation issues for my whole life, really, and so being able to work on those same issues, either on the Water Authority or the RTC, I think would definitely be something of interest to me. But look, I understand I'm a low man on the totem pole, and I will be very happy to take on any assignment that I receive.
Something that has really come along, obviously, is legal marijuana. It's obviously now from medicinal to recreational, but there still is seemingly a loophole that at some point I think you folks are going to have to deal with, is consumption lounges or someplace for tourists to consume that product. What's your stance on that, or what can you tell us about this?
Sure.
Commissioner?
Obviously, like I said, I mean, recreational marijuana is doing well here. We have millions of tourists who are coming to Clark County, and many of them partake of marijuana products. And understandably, the gaming properties can't have those in their casinos. And so we have to provide an opportunity somewhere for folks who want to partake to do so off the strip. And so I think we absolutely have to look at how we do that. We want to do it right. And I think that's one thing that we have done with cannabis is try and learn from other states' successes and mistakes, and try and do it the right way here. And so I know that some of the legislators, some of the county commissioners have looked at how it's done in some of the other states that have allowed consumption lounges, including California. And so I think we have some good opportunities, some good ideas for how to do it the right way.
Let's ping pong around about this. Is a great time to be a county commissioner. We've got almost a $2 billion stadium being built here, which you and your colleagues will help guide through the last year and a half of construction progress. Are you satisfied with how that has been built so far, and anything in your lawyer's mind or your county commissioner's mind that we really need to keep an eye on as a complete construction of that project?
You know, I think that they have done a great job of fast tracking that project. Obviously, it was a very aggressive timeline to get it open before the 2020 season, so we can get the Raiders here and playing on a beautiful facility. I am not dialed into exactly where it is or how it's going in terms of the construction, but I do pass it every day on my way to work, and it is pretty amazing to see going from a piece of ground to going underground to coming out of the ground. And I think it's going to be a real exciting time for Southern Nevada to take advantage of all the opportunities that the stadium does provide.
And McCarran Airport, there's a move afoot perhaps to change the name of that to honor our longtime Senator Harry Reid. What's your stance on that, Commissioner?
I've known Senator Reid for a long time. My wife worked for him while I was in law school and throughout his last few campaigns, and his family has always been near and dear to my heart. I think he's done amazing things for Nevada, and I think it would be quite an honor to have the airport named for him.
All right. Well, we thank you for spending some time with us, and I know you need to roll up your sleeves and get out there and represent District F and represent the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Appreciate it.